Hello, everyone. My name is Hayden Jones. I'm the Director of Business Development at Benchly, and today I'll be walking you through our ezBriefs Microsoft Word add-in. With ezBriefs, users are able to automatically generate a table of authorities, confirm the format of the cited authority within the working product, verify the use of court-specific formats, as well as a host of other features. The first thing I'll do is I'll go ahead and select our style manual. You'll notice that most of these buttons are grayed out, and these will color in once we perform a find function. But I would like to point out that ezBriefs is a very intuitive, straightforward left to right workflow. All you're doing is really working from your left to your right to work through this document to ultimately build a table of authorities. We'll go ahead and select our style manual first. Today, this brief is going to be destined for the Fifth Circuit, so we'll stay with Blue Book. However, if you're working in another jurisdiction, we have plenty of other style manuals to choose from. We'll stay with Blue Book, and we'll click Find. As the name implies, the find function is finding all of the cited authority in this document. So your cases, your rules, your statutes, all of those types of authorities are not only being found, but they're also being marked for inclusion in the table of authorities by ezBriefs. I would like to point out that this is identical to somebody going into the References tab in Microsoft Word, highlighting a citation, clicking Mark in the table of authorities section, and then moving on to the next authority. And let's say that the next authority is a statute. Well, they would highlight it, they would go in, they would select the correct section heading to be categorized, and then they would mark it, and then they would move on. This process in its entirety takes about 45 seconds, but really scales with the size of the brief. You'll notice there are about 50 pages on this brief in particular, not the largest brief. However, on a smaller document such as a motion, this process would be even faster. We'll go ahead and expand the Found Authority pane, where we can look at all the different authorities in this working product. The first thing I'll look at is our cases. You'll notice right away we have a split citation, and we'll go ahead and deal with this in a moment. But what I want to go ahead and do, and I encourage all of our users to do this, is just look through your cases. Look through your authorities, see if everything's there. We have 67 cases that we're working with today. Go ahead and check the statutes out. 4 of those, looks like we have a couple of subsections that might need our attention, and then some rules and regulations. From here, I want to go ahead and start with our section headings. Let's say that we want to change this constitutional provisions and statutes section heading. This is a Blue Book standard, and it's a pretty common practice to just word this as statutes. So we'll go ahead and double click, delete, and you'll notice that these section headings are identical to what is in the table of authorities feature that is designed by Microsoft Word. So I've got our statutes. I'm going to click select, and this will automatically change the section heading to just say statutes. I could do the same with rules, however, I'll leave that as is. The next thing I want to do while I'm here in this statute section heading is I'm going to go ahead and clean up the subsections in here. This could be an attorney preference or maybe even a court requirement or a judge expectation. But what I want to do is I'll just click down to the statute, and you'll notice that ezBriefs right away navigates us to the authorities location in the document. And I'll go ahead and clean up this subsection. So all I did was I double clicked, and then I'm going to highlight this and remove it, click save. And I'd like to point out that this is not changing the text in the document. This is only changing what will be displayed in the table of authorities using this Found Authority pane. The next step in this little subgrouping process is we'll go ahead and we already have this selected, so we'll move it using the Move button. And we can either move it as another primary authority in another section heading, or I can link it as a subsequent authority, which is what we're going to do today. I'll click my newly created section 12102. I'll click Apply, and you'll notice that it disappeared. If I expand this authority, I can see the different subsequent authorities underneath it. And I always like to point out that we do capture the ids and link them where they're supposed to go. Now we'll flip back over to our cases. Our cases, as I mentioned, we have 67 of them, quite a fair bit of cases to sort through. However, ezBriefs does this automatically for users. Just click the Confirm Citations, and this is going to check the formatting and the use of all of these different citations. You'll notice right away we have 5 what we call exceptions, and they're even coded depending on what the error may be. A red X signifying that there's a formatting error and this needs our attention. And then a yellow hazard icon, more of saying, you might want to take a look at this. We found something that may need a change, depending on what the drafter's preference is. I'll click Resolve Exceptions. And the first thing we're going to work with is our split citation. And I've got 3 different approaches on how I can handle this split cite. Since this is a demonstration on product automation, I'm going to stick with the most automated way to do this. And that's where ezBriefs automatically looks backwards and forwards for the case name, as well as cross-references the citation with the corresponding case title. Shager v. Upjohn here was referenced previously to the citation itself, so we can probably believe that that's the title. However, if we're not sure, we can come over here, and this title was determined using the citation itself and cross-referenced against Benchley's complete case law database. Finally, if we wanted to, we could set the title to our own text. Again, I'm going to stick with the automated choice here. Click Apply. I'll apply the change. And it's worth mentioning that this process will make a change to the text in the working document. So in this instance, we have a period missing in the reporter, a very simple and common mistake that happens all the time. I'll go ahead and replace the change, and I'll be sure to point this out once we build the table of authorities. So I'll apply the change. And again, another abbreviation mistake on this reporter. Nothing too major, but still something we want to get sorted out. Finally, looks like we have an issue with our volume. So it was cited as 573, and it's supposed to be 537. And commonly, many attorneys use the same case in many of their different briefs to facilitate an argument or support an argument or make a point. And you as an attorney may be thinking, well, I point to this case pretty often. I'm pretty sure I had it right. Conveniently, you can view the case right here in Microsoft Word, and you can read through it as much as you'd like. And this way we know that, yes, this is the correct case. This is how it's supposed to be cited. I'll go ahead and click Replace. I'll apply the change. And our last exception is actually a case title issue, it seems to be, or a capitalization issue. I can either choose to replace this or I can ignore it. I'm going to ignore it. It's likely due to all these party names. I'll ignore it. All of our exceptions have been resolved. And at this point, I want to kind of get some more real estate. We got a lot going on here. So I can close this using the traditional Microsoft Word X, or I can come up here and click the Case Viewer button to close the Case Viewer. Before I go into building our table of authorities, I want to mention that you're able to add or modify an authority. So if I wanted to, add some text, I can add that as an authority, and I just need to select what my section heading will be. Alternatively, I can move and I can delete authorities using this checkbox as well. Site capture can be used to find any obscure authorities, maybe like a municipal code or a county ordinance. Site capture will be able to be used to locate all of those different authorities through a highlighting process. Finally, I'm ready to build my table. I'll go ahead and scroll up to the top of the document. I believe there's our table of authorities page. And what I always recommend to people is to go ahead and dive into your settings first. If this is your first time using ezBriefs, go into the settings, take 2 or 3 minutes to familiarize yourself with the formatting controls, and then set up your brief or set up your table to look exactly like the way you want it to look like, and more importantly, the way the court expects it to look. Let's go into settings, aptly called TOA controls. And the first selection that we're going to make is, where is this table going to go? If we've got it selected right here at the current cursor position, that's where we need our table of authorities. Alternatively, we could select at the beginning of the document. I'll go into my title. Now, we already have a title in this example, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. However, if you wanted to include the title, you would just click Include Title, and you can edit this to say whatever you like. For example, Index of Authorities is a common alternative. Close up title. Now our section headings, what our table of authorities is going to look like. You'll see I have Times New Roman already populated here. Let's say that this judge is expecting Arial. Keep it simple. I'll go up to Arial and I'll change the font. If I want to bold or underline the section headings, I can do that, and I can control the spacing and the justification as well. I'll close that. I'll go to table entries. Again, we have Times New Roman. I'll switch over to Arial. And I always feel that it's important to mention that these fonts within here are not unique to ezBriefs. These will match whatever you have on your local computer. So if you're a firm or an attorney general's office that uses a particular type of font, you're able to select from your normal fonts as if you would just in Microsoft Word. Again, in the name of simplicity, we'll stick with Arial for today. And we're not going to bold or underline any of the case table entries. Finally, we can control our spacing, and we can toggle pass them, which I'll leave on, and we can subgroup if we like. I'll go into line breaks. So we have after the title, which I'll leave toggled, before petition history, and after the citation identifiers. Finally, the pin sites. We want to remove the pin sites from the table of authorities. Pretty self-explanatory there. And our entry sort order if we want to alter the sort order of the table of authorities. Before I go on, I want to click Apply Changes. And lastly, what I want to do is I want to point out these formatting profiles. So I've got Judge Graves, Fifth Circuit, and Judge Higginbottom here as well. In the future, I'm able to, if I want, save this as a new formatting profile. Let's use Ninth Court of Appeals as an example. Or in the future, I'm able to select that formatting profile from this dropdown. So I don't have to come back in here and tell the tool what I need my table of authorities to look like. If I'm filing with Judge Higginbottom, I'll just click Judge Higginbottom's name, click Apply Changes, and I'll click Build Table. This process will produce a table of authorities determined by what I have set it to look like, based on hypothetically what Judge Higginbottom's expectations are or the Fifth Circuit's expectations are. Again, I want to get a little more real estate. This can scale if I want it to. And we have our table of authorities. So let's go ahead and go through this real quick. Burton v. Freescale, there's an example of PASM. And our Howsam case is the next one I want to jump to. Howsam v. Deanwitter Reynolds, it was 573. Our tool corrected it to 537. Let's go down to Shager v. Upjohn with the split citation early on. You'll notice that that's been formatted correctly as well. Finally, our statutes that we subgrouped earlier are simply labeled as Section 12102 instead of the different subsections. So our table of authorities is complete. Now, let's say we're pushing up against the filing deadline and we want to make a change. Inevitably, we want to delete a paragraph, or alternatively, we could add a paragraph of authorities as well. What I want to do is I'll just select a random case here, or a random sentence. Let's say this quote right here. The Vance v. Union Planners Corp. Go ahead and delete that. From there, I'll click Update Table. And this works both ways. If you were to add a paragraph with authorities, you wouldn't have to regenerate the table of authorities or go through the entire workflow that we just went through to add that one case or that one set of authorities. You'd very easily be able to just update the table. And I believe I said the case name was Vance, and you'll see Vance is gone. So that is how the update table feature works as well. Our rules and regulations, we didn't make any changes. And this is how you produce a table of authorities using the ezBriefs Microsoft Word add-in. Beyond just producing a table of authorities, you're also able to very quickly confirm your citation formats, make sure that there are not any errors before you file a brief or a motion with the court. There are many different use cases for the features that I've shown here, and if anyone has any questions, I would encourage you to email me. My email is hjones, Jones, @benchly.com. Thank you for your time today, and I look forward to working with you in the future.